January 2023. The last Boeing 747 ever built rolled off the assembly line in Everett, Washington, marking the end of an era that defined commercial aviation for over 5 decades. But then Lufthansa's CEO took the stage and made a shocking announcement. They're planning to fly the 747 well into the 2030s and are actively upgrading their entire fleet to keep them airborne longer. The industry was stunned. You see, of the more than 70 airlines that once flew passenger 747s, virtually all of them had completely phased out the type years ago. Korean Air and Air China, the only other carriers still operating them, have already announced plans for retirement before the end of this decade. But here's what's truly baffling. In 2025, Lufthansa didn't just keep flying them, they increased 747 operations by 32%. While every other airline raced toward fuel-efficient twins like the A350 and 787, Lufthansa is moving in the exact opposite direction. This is particularly absurd considering Germany has some of the most aggressive climate commitments in Europe, and the recent geopolitical tensions with Russia have sent European fuel prices soaring. So how is Lufthansa making the 747 work when every other airline concluded it was financially impossible? And what is the secret economics that's keeping them profitable? The answer reveals a strategy so unique that only one airline in the world could execute. But to understand why backing the 747 was so controversial, we need to look at how this once dominant aircraft fell from grace. You see, in the 1970s and 80s, four-engine aircraft such as the 747 once commanded commercial aviation, delivering an unparalleled combination of range and operational safety, with the 747 standing as the undisputed leader. At its peak, it held the position of the world's best-selling wide-body aircraft, while its distinctive upper deck made it iconic, earning it the designation as the Queen of the Skies. But this competitive landscape shifted dramatically when ETOPS, or Extended Range Twin-Engine Operational Performance Standards, began to mature. This updated regulatory framework allowed twin-engine aircraft to fly routes that took them further from diversion airports, routes that had previously been the exclusive domain of 3- and 4-engine aircraft. Moreover, this regulatory shift coincided with the arrival of a new generation of powerful twin-engine aircraft, like the Boeing 777 and Airbus A330, which became the new standard for long-haul operations. After the regulatory changes, these twins could fly virtually all the same missions the 747 was designed to dominate, but they could do it more profitably. For airlines operating on thin margins, twin-engine jets offered compelling economics that the 747 simply could not match. As a result, despite launching the newer, more efficient 747-8 passenger variant in 2005, the program became one of Boeing's most spectacular commercial failures. The passenger version attracted merely 42 orders globally throughout its production lifetime, a fraction of Boeing's projections and a devastating blow to the jumbo jet legacy. But surprisingly, Lufthansa not only chose to continue flying the jet, but they also championed the newer 747-8 as the launch customer, purchasing 19 units, nearly half of all passenger orders. And according to Lufthansa's CEO, they are planning to operate them well into the next decade. So why is Lufthansa fundamentally different from every airline that ultimately abandoned it? These videos take a lot of time and research to create, so if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel. You see, when Boeing introduced the 747 in 1970, Lufthansa emerged as an early adopter, claiming the distinction of being the first European carrier to fly the 747. This long partnership, combined with their launch customer status on the 747-8, gave them extraordinary leverage at the negotiating table, securing aircraft at deeply discounted prices. While Boeing's list price exceeded $400 million per aircraft, Lufthansa secured their fleet of 19 747-8s for approximately $3.2 billion, roughly $170 million per aircraft. This represents a discount so substantial it fundamentally restructures the entire economic equation. For context, a new Airbus A350 commands approximately $350 million, even with volume discounts. While the aviation industry typically calculates competitiveness through fuel burn comparisons, this metric ignores the broader financial reality that determines airline profitability. At roughly half the acquisition cost of modern alternatives, Lufthansa's massive capital advantage means the debt payments and ownership costs that burden airlines operating newer, more expensive jets outweigh the fuel differential, transforming what appears to be a liability on fuel efficiency into a strategic advantage. The economics become even more compelling when examining Lufthansa's fleet of older Boeing 747-400s. Most of these aircraft are either fully paid off or heavily depreciated on the company's balance sheet. This means their primary costs are operating expenses like fuel, maintenance, and crew, rather than capital costs that consume margins. And Lufthansa strategically deploys these aircraft on high-demand, high-density international corridors like Chicago, Delhi, and Singapore, where their 370-seat capacity drives down the cost per available seat kilometer. This combination of minimal capital burden and smart route selection translates directly to higher profit margins and more competitive fares. But there's one more factor that dramatically tips the scales in the 747's favor: premium seating revenue. For airlines, the revenue generated by business and first-class passengers isn't just important, it's the difference between profit and loss. Despite occupying only a small portion of an aircraft's total capacity, these premium sections can account for as much as 3/4 of a carrier's total revenue on a given flight. The math is striking. A single first-class passenger flying Frankfurt to New York might pay $8,000 for a seat that requires precisely the same fuel expenditure as a $400 economy ticket. What's more, this premium demand is surging. According to USA Today, airlines have seen massive growth in premium ticket sales from leisure travelers in the past 5 years. To capture this revenue, airlines worldwide are adding more business and first-class seats, recognizing that the future of aviation profitability rests with high-yield travelers. For Lufthansa, however, this premium travel boom presents a unique advantage. Germany is Europe's largest economy, exceeding $4 trillion in GDP annually, and ranks as the world's third largest exporter behind only China and the United States. This industrial powerhouse drives enormous corporate travel demand, and as Germany's flag carrier, Lufthansa exists to facilitate these connections, commanding a disproportionate share of this high-yield traffic, with demand that far exceeds most European competitors. This is where the 747's unique architecture becomes strategically invaluable. The aircraft provides more cabin space than virtually any other aircraft currently in service, and Lufthansa has designed its interior specifically to capitalize on this advantage. You see, while Boeing's specifications suggest the 747-8 can accommodate up to 467 passengers in a typical 3-class configuration, Lufthansa's version carries just 364 seats. This deliberate reduction allows them to dedicate extensive space to premium passengers. 88 business and first-class seats in total, spanning half the main deck in the aircraft's entire iconic upper deck. To put this in perspective, Korean Air and Air China, the only other airlines still flying the 747-8, offered just 54 and 66 premium seats, respectively. This premium-heavy layout is Lufthansa's key to making the 747's substantial operating expenses economically viable. Those 88 premium passengers can generate 60 to 70% of a flight's total revenue, effectively subsidizing the entire operation.
Moreover, reserved exclusively for business class, the 747's upper deck transforms commercial aviation into something extraordinary. Up here, passengers experience an intimate environment that feels more like a private jet than a commercial flight. The dedicated flight crew, suite-level privacy, and whisper-quiet cabin, positioned far from the engines, create an atmosphere smaller aircraft physically cannot replicate. It's this rare combination that allows Lufthansa to command premium pricing for an experience only the A380 can rival. But when you look closely, Lufthansa isn't the only carrier that benefits from premium cabins. Legacy 747 operators like Qantas, Cathay Pacific, and Singapore Airlines also rely heavily on premium travel to drive and sustain growth, and yet they all retired their 747s years ago and haven't looked back.
So what allows Lufthansa to profitably operate what every other airline abandoned? You see, the 747's operational challenges run much deeper than its infamous fuel consumption. And there's one critical area where Lufthansa absolutely crushes every other airline, and that is maintenance.
In commercial aviation, maintenance represents the heaviest financial burden, second only to the aircraft acquisition cost itself. Aircraft engines are by far the most expensive components to service and overhaul, and given that the 747 operates 4 engines compared to just 2 on aircraft like the 777 or A350, its maintenance burden becomes substantially heavier. While the Queen of the Skies can generate impressive revenue, these earnings are typically consumed by elevated upkeep expenses. Yet Lufthansa possesses a critical advantage that changes this equation entirely. Here's the deal. The airline owns Lufthansa Technik, one of the world's largest aviation maintenance organizations, which operates facilities around the world, including Germany, the United States, and even China. These facilities don't just service Lufthansa's fleet, instead they provide maintenance for dozens of carriers worldwide, making Technik a global powerhouse in aviation MRO services. This strategic asset delivers 2 fundamental advantages that transform the 747's economics. First, there's the matter of institutional knowledge. Lufthansa Technik has been maintaining 747s for more than 5 decades, accumulating unparalleled expertise in these aircraft. This deep familiarity enables them to optimize maintenance procedures, reduce turnaround times, and minimize aircraft downtime. When a Lufthansa 747 requires service, it returns to revenue-generating operations faster than it would at nearly any other facility. Second, scale creates leverage. Technik's sheer size grants them exceptional negotiating power with part suppliers. They can secure more favorable pricing and purchase components in quantities that would be impossible for smaller operations. When you're servicing dozens of airlines globally, bulk purchasing becomes a powerful cost reduction tool. This combination of pricing leverage and robust maintenance infrastructure makes Lufthansa uniquely positioned as the sole airline capable of operating the 747 profitably in the modern era. While the airline has indeed invested in next-generation widebodies, acquiring the A350-1000 and 777X to modernize operations and reduce emissions, these aircraft serve as fleet supplements rather than complete replacements. Until then, for Lufthansa, the 747 remains economically viable, and it intends to capitalize on that advantage for the foreseeable future.
But there's another reason that's often overlooked in explaining Lufthansa's commitment to the 747, and that is the aircraft's age.
Most airlines retired their 747s due to efficiency concerns surrounding the older 747-400 variants. These earlier models, while revolutionary in their time, simply could not compete with modern fuel-efficient twins. However, Lufthansa operates the largest fleet of the latest 747-8, which offers significantly improved fuel efficiency of almost 16% over its predecessors, mainly due to new Gen X engines, redesigned wings incorporating advanced aerodynamics, and modern avionics. As of January 2026, the 747-8 fleet has an average age of approximately 12.2 years. an absurdly young age for airframes that are designed to operate for 25 to 30 years or more with proper maintenance. This means these aircraft still have well over a decade of productive service life remaining, and retiring these jets prematurely would mean writing off billions in residual asset value. An economically untenable proposition for any airline. Moreover, Lufthansa became the launch customer for Boeing's 777X program, ordering 34 777-9 aircraft in 2013. The airline had planned to replace its aging 747 fleet with these new widebodies, which were scheduled for delivery in 2020. However, the 777X has become Boeing's latest expensive disappointment. In August 2024, the Boeing 777X test fleet was grounded due to a structural issue with the engine thrust links, which connect the engine to the wing. Inspections found cracks in these titanium components, requiring Boeing to pause flight testing to redesign, replace, and validate the fixes. As a result, the 777X now won't enter service until late 2026 at the earliest, and that timeline remains uncertain, forcing Lufthansa to delay the retirement of older 747s.
So, when Carsten Spohr stood on that stage in Everett and declared Lufthansa's commitment to the 747, he wasn't making an emotional statement.
He was making a calculated business decision. While the rest of the aviation world sees the Queen of the Skies as a relic of the past, Lufthansa has engineered a unique set of circumstances that defy industry expectations. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this story isn't just that Lufthansa can make the 747 work, it's that they might be the last airline that ever will. The deeply discounted purchase prices, Germany's unmatched corporate travel demand, and their integrated maintenance capabilities created a singular opportunity that no other carrier can duplicate. And when the era of passenger 747s finally comes to a close, Lufthansa will almost certainly be the one turning off the lights.